objectively speaking, as the executive director, I think that
Yes.
the most important change in Jewish Krakow in a long, long time has been the building of the JCC here, because I think it's given the community hope. And there were other things, oh, maybe there's some Jews here, let's do some stuff for the Jews, how nice it is that Poles are appreciating Jewish culture, which is very, very important, but we're saying something that I think is a very central thing in the Jewish world, which is, wait, there are Jews here, let's build Jewish life here, and let's do something to, to build the Jewish future here. So we're very on target, and I think laser focused on that, and being as open, warm, welcoming, colorful as possible, which is, I think, hope the effect that you get in the building.
It is.
Shall we? So Estera Street, this is a place that we like to go to. This is a kind of mesta, which is a very sort of open, I would say, kind of very liberal, kind of gay-friendly environment, which also is for us a kind of very nice environment for our community. So we cooperate with them. Kind of a nice, colorful place like the JCC, and I did BBC did some travel show with me about Kazimierz, and I had an interview in there because I think that most places in Kazimierz is sort of everything is sort of like sepia, dark, and I felt that I like the idea of color and optimism a bit more. And I think for us, if you would say to me, where is the center of Kazimierz, even of Jewish life in Kazimierz, I would say here. First of all, because all this is sort of where the life is of Kazimierz. The other one, Shiroka Street, to me is much more for tourists, and Kazimierz. And here is we're in the part that really lives, which is students and nightlife. So we walk past this place, Makana. We have a very nice connection here. So one of the bartenders here works in the JCC, is a member of our student club. He used to work in the JCC, now is a member of our student club, and we used to, every Friday night after dinner, we would have the second half of the Shabbat dinner. We would all come here for drinks. It was very nice.
So nice.
If people didn't keep Shabbat, so they wouldn't pay, and they would come back later. They would just keep a tab, and it was nice. So, but I think this is really the sort of the heart and soul of Kazimierz and of the revival of Kazimierz, is this central square here, Platz Nowy, or some people call it Platz Żydowski, Jewish Square.
What's nice about my job here is that I walk to work. Last year I drove 45 minutes in one direction, 45 minutes in the other direction. And it changes your total experience when you're just able to walk through the streets. So if I'm going to walk with you, I'm just going to walk where I normally walk throughout my time here. What I do sometimes is look for mezuzah slots in the buildings, and there, if we walked a little bit, we find that there's like a place where the mezuzah used to be, and then it was kind of glossed over. And sometimes, if you have a little imagination, you could see, there's a smudge that's diagonal, and maybe I'm making it up, or maybe it was yet another one because this entire area was Jewish. Where I buy my food, and it's more or less this is where I get my So I don't go very far. There's a lot. It's very important for my diet. There's a lot of chocolate that's kosher, and
You can get kosher chocolate here?
you can get kosher chocolate here. There's a list, and you just know what's kosher and what's not, and. I buy chocolate here, I buy my soy milk here, I buy cereal, plenty of cereal, I buy rice cakes. I don't think I need to eat much more. Like, what else is there in the world if I have chocolate? There's even kosher ice cream.
Oh, it's
Go
going?
ahead. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I picked here because this was actually my first view of Jewish Krakow. I came here for the first time in June or July of 2002. And the entire place looked completely different. Poland has undergone such a major transformation. I came here on a youth group trip through the NIFTY, National Federation of Temple Youth. We were supposed to go to Israel, but because of the Intifada, we didn't. And so we did what was called European Routes. And I remember when I came in, we took the overnight train from Prague, and I got this feeling, and we had been bombarded with this idea, you're here to be sad, you're here to be sad, there's nothing good here, we're all about the Holocaust all the time. And really all we did was see Kazimierz go to the ghetto, go to Auschwitz and leave. So this I remember very clearly about sitting on one of these steps, probably about here, and seeing this very empty space, listening to our leaders talk about how the streets ran red with blood and how we are here to be sad. I remember at that monument there were little kids playing on it, and they said it was for people who were executed in front of the synagogue. It took me many years to realize that those people who were executed were not Jewish. But despite sort of this negativity of this trip, that really is what opened the door into my interest in Poland.
Old shul. I want to go into So my son came here, and I met him over here. He was with a group, and they came to Krakow just like for a few hours before they continued on to more destruction. It was what they call the heritage tour, but Jonathan likes to call it the Nazi heritage tour, which I agree with. But then he came back for Hanukkah with us, and we went shopping, and we went bowling, and we went this one. It was a radically different experience. Yeah, I need to go in here for 30 seconds.
None of the Belexes, so the golf carts, that's what they're called in English, were there. I remember it being very, very empty, which is, for Kazimierz in the summer now, is very unusual. Oh, dziękuję. And it just strikes me not just about the change of mentality, but the change in how the street looks today. 2002, Poland was a little over 10 years removed from communism. The massive tourism had started, but not as much. But the transformation really hit the watershed moment when Poland joined the EU, I think. But my memories of 2002 and when I came again in 2003, the next summer, are still very strong. Mm-hmm.
Now go into the So now we're coming out onto Shiroka Street, Jurassic Park, as the locals call it. I'm gonna get in trouble with the rain. Golf carts. I quite like the golf carts because when I was on the kibbutz, I lived for 7 years on the kibbutz, and one of my jobs on the kibbutz was delivering stuff around the kibbutz on a golf cart. Now, having a golf cart on a kibbutz is very exciting because nobody has cars really. Okay, if you want to go somewhere, but you're in this big place, and it's like everyone's walking around on their bicycles, and I had a golf cart, which is exciting. So here we're in the main. For me, when I'm here, first of all, the Jurassic Park thing, but also it makes me think also of the festival, because the only time that I'm really here a lot is like the final concert of the festival, when they build a big stage here, and then there's about 10-15,000 people, and we're watching it, and there's a party in this hotel and a party in here and all of that. It's interesting, but this is this is like the sort of touristic center of Kazimierz. You have the old synagogue, which is I think it's the oldest synagogue in Poland from the 15th century. Now it's part of the city museum. It's a city museum now, which is not that exciting inside, to tell you the truth. I kind of wish that they would have done something a bit better with that. And you start to get into the local politics here of the Jewish religious congregation, the Gemina, which owns all the synagogues and owns a lot of property. Yeah, but here it's kind of funny, Babelstein and Ariel and this. It's, to me, it's all a little bit silly and funny to some degree, and people say, oh, does it offend you? And I think it's an important point to say, I think all of this is positive. Okay. Now, I personally have no desire to sit down and eat, have dinner in Ariel and have this, non-kosher, fake duck breast, whatever this imagined goose livery Jewish past, which to me is not my Jewishness. But if all of this environment, from the high culture and the good things of the festival to the silly, you know, almost kosher-style pork that you can get in these restaurants, all of it creates this atmosphere where people are talking about Jewish things or interested in Jewish things, and that makes it more likely to me, a 19-year-old who came to Krakow to study at the university and who found out a year ago that his grandmother is Jewish, and he sees this and he says, wow, all these non-Jews, the whole city is so crazy about everything Jewish, that's part of my heritage, I'm going to go take a step foot, I'm going to go join the community, I'm going to go walk into the JCC and see what that's about. So I think that all this helps. I think if you didn't have a community here, and if you didn't have this kind of growing, thriving, strong community, then I think this would be very sad. Then I think it would be like going to the museum and looking at the dinosaurs, you know, a diorama of dinosaurs or something. But I think all of these things, even the silly aspect of it, help what we're doing here.
There's always this tension on Shiroka Street. I don't come here very often that much because it is a bit touristy. And there's always this tension of people saying, oh, this is all, it's Disneyland for Jews, it's not real, they're just trying to make money off of us, they being the Poles. And I always have this argument that, yes, some of it is for profit, but also, what would happen if it wasn't here? I always try to view these places in the most positive light possible.
Here's the Ramah synagogue. This is kind of the most important synagogue here in Krakow. The rabbi is named after Rabbi Israelis, Rabbi Moses Israelis, who was the most important rabbi in Krakow history. He is one who also kind of codified for the Ashkenazi of the Shulchan Aruch. So a lot of the things, the way that we now, a lot of the laws and the ways that we practice things are based on Rabbi Israelis. And here they're selling all these sort of little tchantchkas, selling this and yarmulkes and all this, and at a certain point they were selling coins, Jews with coins, which are very divisive, I think.
Oh, they replaced them with stars?
Yeah. So I asked them, I made sure that they got taken away, because I thought in front of the synagogue it's somewhat shameful that it's not nice. And I'm not a fan of the Jews with coins anywhere. I mean, it's a complicated issue, and whether it's offensive or anti-Semitic or both or one or the other. But they certainly don't need to be sold in front of the synagogue, and it makes Poland look very bad.
So what's cool about this, the name of the synagogue is that it says the new synagogue, because it's only from the 1500s, and that's embarrassingly new. Shalom, Rabbi Yitzchak.
Hi, how are you?
Mashallah, how are you? What brings you here? March to live? The synagogue's in here, and they got all these plaques and all these memorials. This is like, listen, the Ramah is the most important Ashkenazic person in 1,000 years. So people come here, and they come here to talk about him. They come here to talk about him in the cemetery, and so I always bring people here, and I'd like them to finish. Kiedy skoniec?
W przyszłym roku.
Tak?
Tak, za rok.
Za rok. One more year? Za rok?
In 1 year.
In 1 year. O. I będzie otwarte na dole?
Chyba tak, ale nie wiem jeszcze.
Nie wiesz. Do widzenia, dziękuję.
Dziękuję.
Well, first it's that next year. And then it's that in 1 year.
Hello, would you like a city tour?
This is Kamsa, and there was a little article, and I talked to someone, I think, in JTA about it, because if you notice, all of these things, Klezmer House, and some of these restaurants, so Klezmer House is actually a good restaurant, and we work with them a lot, but you know, all of these things is sort of a past, trying to connect to the past and all this. And Hamsa, I don't know, have you been in there? So Hamsa is great to me because it's not this imagined past. Hamsa, you walk in there and it looks like Tel Aviv. You know, you're in this kind of white, cool, hip place, and it's nice, and plants inside and stuff, and it's connecting to a totally different contemporary view of or something connected to the Jewish world, which I think is fantastic. So, you know, I'm a big fan of Hamsa, and we work with them. We have nice, JCC has a very nice relationship with them, and I think it's fantastic because I think it's the first place, maybe besides ours, that is saying that Jewish life isn't something that only belongs to the past. There's something very forward-looking. And I spoke with the manager. I think I'm not sure if he's the manager anymore. And he said that he was actually inspired by the JCC, that he'd been in there and he saw this kind of contemporary take on Jewish life.
We're getting to the point where people who witness these events are not going to be here much longer. And so then what happens? What happens when the survivors and the witnesses die out? It's going to vanish. And so to have these restaurants and these different places, it means that the memory will be preserved in some form. Is it all good? No. Are there mistakes? These stupid golf carts, they say such bullshit, and it's wrong. And some of the guides do as well, as they haven't been trained specifically. But at the same time, sometimes even bad information can be enough for people to be carried.
Anyway, that's what I do. I walk this little circuit, and then hang out and give my classes, and witness the rebuilding of modern Kazimierz at the same time, the rebirth of the Jewish Kazimierz. So it's going hand in hand, and I think that that's natural, like with the rebuilding of Poland and the rebuilding of a relationship, that Polish-Jewish relationship, and you can say yes or no if you think that what I'm saying is wrong, but I think it's just some symbiotic thing that's happening here.
There's a long road ahead, but I think the community is sustainable, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, to me, Kazimierz, what's interesting and what I think my favorite thing maybe about Kazimierz is that it has a real neighborhood feel. You know, I feel like I'm in a little, I don't know if shtetl is the right word, but I feel like I know a lot of people. Even with all the tourists coming through, I go in the shops, hey, Jonathan, how you doing? I know everybody, and it's a nice sort of feel.